Good evening and welcome to the Candidates Night for the town of Fort Kent. This evening we have two candidates here of the three. I suppose I should say who I am. My name is Danny Nicholas. With me this evening to my right is Dr. John Bouchard. To my left is Dan Marquis. We have a third person who is running, Corey Pelletier, but at this time he's on his way someplace between Bangor and here, and he says the roads aren't good, so he won't make it. I'd like to probably lay the ground rules down a bit. I'm going to ask each candidate to state why they'd like to be on the town council. One is running for re-election, and the other one is running for election after a retirement of 1 year. Corey is does not have experience in town council, but is running for a 3-year term. And both of these positions are 3-year terms. Alphabetically is the way we're going to go. Dr. Bouchard is going to start first, then Marquis. And the first question is, why do you hope on regaining a seat on the town council, Dr. Bouchard?
Thank you, Dan. As Dan said, I chose not to run last year when my seat was up for re-election. I had served 3 terms and felt that best to give opportunity for new members to become involved with the council and municipal government. And so that was my reason that I chose not to run. I also had other responsibilities that I felt would take away from devoting the time needed to serve on the council at that time. As I look at this year's election, I chose to run again because I feel that we're in an important time of transition, and my past experience on the council should help to offer some guidance and leadership as we move into a time with a new town manager.
Okay, thank you, John. Dan, same question.
Well, I'd like to start out by saying I moved to this community in 1987 and opened up the machine shop. And the Fort Kent community and surrounding communities helped me support my family, supported my business. At a later time, I decided to join the state police, and the town supported me in that. I served in the Fort Kent Fire Department for 13 years and the Fort Kent Ambulance Service for 6. Later in my career, I felt that I was getting ready to retire, and I felt that I owe it to my community to give back. So I was asked to serve on the zoning board. So I volunteered to serve that. I served there about 3 years, and then I decided to run for election on the council. And I believe in public service, and I believe that anyone that can do it and has the ability to do it should do it at some time in their lives. So one of my main reasons for running again is because the community has been good to me, and I want to thank the community by making decisions that I can make on the council. And John is right that this year we're going to come up with some new challenges, And we need stability in the council because we're losing a big part of our town government by Don leaving. He was a selfless individual who put the needs of his community before himself. And so right now, in the next few years, we have big challenges in front of us, and what's important right now is stability.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, the first question is going to go to Dr. Bouchard. Realizing that the town council awarded the snow removal contracts for the portions that the town does not cover, this question has to do with, do you think the Public Works Department should plow all the town roads? In other words, not go out to bid, and why?
I don't feel that the town should begin to take over all of the road plowing within the town of Fort Kent again, as has been done in the past, and it's probably been 25 years at least since it was done that way, particularly because when we have looked in the past at the costs of doing it through the municipality, it has been said that the costs would be higher for the town to do all of the road plowing than under the current system, where some of those roads are plowed by a contractor. Years ago, the town had many more town employees when they did take care of all of the roads. Some of those employees were seasonal and others were permanent. We currently have a Public Works Department that has 5 individuals, including the department head. So we certainly can't do it with the manpower that we have currently, and the additional cost in infrastructure for the town to do that, not to mention the ongoing costs of employees, would make it more expensive. At this time, by doing it where some of the roads are contracted, it allows for a private business to maintain some of their workers on a full-time basis, where their work otherwise might only be seasonal. So I think it helps the private industry. I think that in general, the private industry can do most functions for less than government.
Okay, thank you, John. I had not planned on, and I don't plan on giving the next candidate the same question, so we're going to sort of mix this up here a bit. Mr. Marquis, what type of new business would you like to see come into Fort Kent? And is the town capable of enticing them to come in?
Well, one of the business that I would like to see come in is Irving Mill to come back to the community. Irving is a big employer in the county, and even if they weren't to establish another mill, which the other one was in St. John, could establish another business like they had with the packing shed, or even their headquarters There was plans for that a few years ago. And I believe that would help the community in certain ways, because one of the main factors in this community is the wood industries. So we have to focus on what we can bring to a community as far as workforce, bringing some type of manufacturing from downstate. You know, right now we don't have the workforce for that, but we do have the workforce for a wood mill, or you know, maybe their headquarters here. As far as the town helping out, I guess it's a check and balance thing. If a company comes in here and can offer a certain workforce, and people are able to live in Fort Kent and bring a tax base, then there could be some tax incentive. I'm not saying that I would give that to every business, because it wouldn't be fair to other businesses that would be in town that are employing people now. So it would have to be substantial to the town and to the town residents.
You guys are pretty good here. You're getting it awful close, time-wise. By the way, I am allowing them 3 minutes to answer the questions. John, what is your feeling of Fort Kent participating in a free trade center? Years ago, Madawaska had one primarily for JDs. Now that JDs, as it was known, is no longer in existence, it was brought to the council's attention, I believe, almost a year ago, to see if the valleys here from Grand Isle to Fort Kent would be part of that. And do you favor that, or do you think, what is your opinion on that?
I think if there's opportunity by being a free trade center to encourage more business internationally, I think it would be beneficial for us to be part of that. I'm not aware enough about the actual guidelines of a free trade center, free trade district, you may call, to comment on whether or not there are negative parts of being part of a free trade center. So I think if it encourages us and makes us in a better position for us to do business with our neighbors across the border somehow, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't participate.
Does he have any minutes left? Because I'd like to comment on that, because the council already voted on it, on the free trade.
Well, not that he's got any time left, but I'll throw the same question to you then. Do you favor a free trade center?
Yes. The council has already applied for a free trade zone. We combined with Madawaska. Madawaska had an industry with Evergreen perfume factory. And just the factory itself was designated a free trade zone area. When Evergreen closed, the town manager for Madawaska asked us if we wanted to join with Madawaska and applied for a free trade zone area. We looked into it. We had a learning session on it, and we made a decision to hold off to see how much it would cost to join and to apply for, and the cost was minimum. I think it was like $300. So the whole council voted to go forward with the free trade zone. The paperwork is not complete yet, but free trade zone would help us if a company from Canada would bring products over here and use our workforce to do assembly and then take it back across and not pay any duty or tariff on their products. You know, so basically that's what this free trade zone is all about. But the council has already applied for it and supported it.
Okay, since you both answered that one, I'll go back to one that I previously asked in reference to the highway department. I know the council last night approved the contractor. I did not get the figures, but do you feel that the highway department or the Fort Kent Public Works Department should do all the roads in Fort Kent? And why, if not, or why, if you think they should?
Well, right now, there's no way that the highway department could do all the roads in Fort Kent. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the manpower. It would cost the town probably over $1 million, $1.5 million in buying equipment just to service all those roads. Never mind the manpower with benefits and wages. I'm not saying that, you know, we don't need to look at what the private contractors are doing compared to what the town is doing. We already talked to, with other councilors, and that was in the previous council with me, that maybe the town people, the town highway could do a little bit more, but to take over the whole plowing, it would not be feasible, and it would be not cost effective.
Okay, John, I'll go back to new businesses. What type of businesses would you like to see? And if they came, as Dan alluded, do you think there's enough willing manpower to suffice an operation?
I think that there could be opportunity in the community with building trades to possibly get into some pre-manufactured components used for building houses. There's more, whether it be windows or even, you know, some laminated products for support. I think that we have some of the craftsmen that are necessary for that kind of work. In answer to, do we have enough workforce today for such a business? No, we don't. Because otherwise these people would be here doing nothing. If we bring in a new type of business, we have to expect that at first the amount of employees that are here that could do that is limited, but if the business can support and grow, then you have potential to attract the workforce that may be able to do that kind of work. As Dan alluded to earlier, I mean, we have wood all around us. It makes sense for us to try to add value to that wood and instead of sending it all on trucks to mills across the border. So anything that we can do with that raw material is going to be to our advantage. That's my answer.
If you use the concept of you build it, it will come, you know. You need to build something before somebody will take the chance of coming to this town and make a living. If there's nothing there, they won't come.
I love it. You walked right into my next question. Do you think the town should have a recreation center? You know, the old saying, you build it, they shall come. I mean, I know in the past here, people have been saying, well, there's nothing to do, there's this, there's that. They got a skating ring that is very poorly attended. They've got a ski hill that is privately, well, I say privately owned, it's owned by the membership. Quite a few people go, but some people advocate a recreational center where they can play basketball, they can play racquetball. What is your feeling on that?
Well, a recreational center would be great, but it costs a lot of money. A lot of money.
That's the shortest 3 minutes I've seen.
Keep going, Dan. I forgot to reset it, and I don't think I'm going to bother.
We've had discussions on making a rec center, just like Caribou. And I believe that we've had that discussion when John was there. Would it be fair to invest $4 or $5 million to build a rec center with a pool, basketball courts, weight rooms for people to attend that we don't have the population for? Right now, people can play basketball at the high school, at the elementary school. I think that the cost and the return on the rec center would not benefit the town. It'd be great. Like you say, we do have an ice skating ring that we've been contemplating either closing or keeping it open. We look at it every year. We've looked at combining the ice skating ring with the ski-tow, because what people tell us, parents tell us, yeah, well, we like to bring our kids ice skating, but it's a burden sometimes. Some of our kids want to go skiing, other kids want to go ice skating. So they have to bring their kids skiing, then they have to bring their kids ice skating, which the other two kids don't want to go. So one of the ideas that we had is combine the ski-tow and the ice skating rink, so the whole family can go there. Parents can stay there the whole day. They have a warm place to stay, food that they can eat, a meal, and the kids could decide what they want. So would I be in favor of, if we had the funds, to have a big rec center? Of course. You know, anybody be in their right mind to refuse it, but I don't think the town can afford it. We don't have the population for it.
Thank you. You mentioned the skating rink. It's been told several times throughout the years that the town is losing money with that, you know, based on the salary of 2 people, the water, to make the ice, the electricity and whatnot. Now, why would the town think of really allowing anybody else to take it when the town is losing money?
Because of what I just said. Because more people would go to the ski-tow and ice skate because they could bring the whole family there. I think they have a better chance of making it than what we do, you know?
Any comments on that, John? Recreation center I'm talking about.
Recreation center, I agree with Dan's comments as far as a recreation center. I mean, if someone in the community won the Powerball and gave us unlimited funds, it'd be nice to have a recreation center. Everybody would like to have a recreation center. Unfortunately, we have a limited tax base, and a recreation center is going to add expense to the town, and that means more tax that's going to have to be collected. And people already, many people struggle to pay their taxes for the services that we provide now. A lot of people in the community are retired on fixed incomes, still living in their homes and independent. We have to be sensitive to these members of our community as well. And we certainly don't want to drive out that population out of their homes by raising the taxes unnecessarily. We may have opportunity in the future to revisit some recreational center in some sort, depending on how everything changes with the schools, with the potential for combining with the surrounding communities and having a new high school for Madawaska, Frenchville, St. Agatha, and Fort Kent. That might mean that there's some buildings that could be repurposed in some way without extreme cost to provide a little bit of some recreation center. We're fortunate that we have the university in our community and have access to some of the university properties for community functions that could be in a recreation center, such as when there's programs at the auditorium that the public is invited to and so forth. But the city of Presque Isle built a recreation center, and they've got 3 mills of taxes basically because they did that recreation center, and it's going to be ongoing for a number of years. So we have to be sensitive to that.
I think that there's things that we can do and might be able to do later. I know that the university, and within a few years from now, is looking to expand and putting in a big pool at the university. So, yeah, maybe we won't be able to build a big rec center, but maybe we could share the activities with university and schools. And if we do have that consolidated high school, then one of those buildings would be turned over. But to spend millions of dollars for a rec center, yes, it would be great, and I'm sure it would please a lot of people, but it would not please others.
I don't know how you guys are doing it. They haven't seen any of the questions, but they're walking right into it. Schools, let's talk about consolidation, as you mentioned, John. The valley, the 3 major districts in the valley. Madawaska School District, Senegat, Frenchville, Fort Kent, and let's not forget Allagash, because they are said 10, they're small, but they're still there. Should there be only one high school in the area? And if so, where do you feel it should be located?
It's my turn, right?
If you want to hit the nail first, go ahead, Mr. Markey.
Trying to take my question away.
Well, no, he alluded to schools and you alluded to schools, so.
First of all, I'd like to begin with that if we're lucky enough to get the funds to build that high school, which is it's looking real promising right now, that it's an opportunity that not a lot many communities are going to get. There's $100 million available to build a new school that's going to house all the arts, all the trades, all the sports, and to house all the students from those surrounding communities. John wasn't here in the last year, but we had studies made with that strategic planning that Mr. Voisin did, and we had meetings. In 10 years from now, we'll have less than 1,000 students in the valley. If the current things keep going. Our community is becoming every year an aging community. So it's a need and a must that we need to combine the high schools. Because the ones that don't combine will starve because it'll cost too much money to run their schools. All the schools in this area are getting to a point they're dilapidated. You know, they're going to need a lot of improvement in the next few years. And the state won't help because they're not allocating. There's a waiting list as long as my arm for schools to be repaired. So if we get the chance to build this new high school with the funding that the governor's promising, we'll be ahead of the game from a lot of communities that are kind of bucking the system and don't want to consolidate. You know, there's schools downstate, like Auburn and Lewiston. They have superintendents looking at each other from one building to the other. So that doesn't make any sense. So of course, if we get the chance to get the funds for the high school, then we should grab it.
Okay, before I go to John, I'm going to let you put your 2 cents in there. In reference to the consolidation and the process that we have had so far with the funding possibility for a new high school, is thank you to the 3 superintendents working together, like I've got to admit I don't think has ever been seen in the valley here. Fort Kent and Madawaska have always been rivals as far as sports, but they're coming together for education, which is nice. Also Frenchville and St. Agatha. Back in 69, 70, when the grammar school, Fort Kent Elementary, was built and started their first year, they had 1,000 students in there. Now SED 27, I think, is around 500 or a little less. That's pre-K to 12.
I got ahead of myself and forgot to answer your question about where should it be. Okay, the first monies that we got from the state, the 685,000 or so, it was supposed to be 500, we got more, was to make a study of how the schools could be combined and what resources we need, and to study where would be the best opportunity and best area to put that school. All the communities agreed, and superintendent agreed, that they would honor the decision of that committee. You know, the meeting that I went to, the committee was going to be making that decision, and based on the feasibility of how that school was going to consolidate. Nobody knows where it's going to be yet, but that committee is supposed to make that decision. Whether that keeps going that way, but the committee is supposed to make that decision once they're done with their study.
Sean, you got anything you want to add to it?
I mean, I agree with Dan as far as the consolidation to make it a high school for the communities. I think it is a very good opportunity. I think that of the current students in high schools in Madawaska, St. Agatha, and Fort Kent, which is SED 27 students, SED 27 has the majority of students. They graduate the largest high school class. And I think the benefit that we offer to the other school districts, in addition to the consolidation, is the access to the university for the high school students to take university credits, to graduate from high school with already some university credits towards either an associate or bachelor's degree in higher education. So I think that logistically it makes sense that you have to be closer to the university as opposed to away from the university for it to work out easier. we don't want to necessarily spend all our time during the school day busing students up and down the road, because not everything that they learn on the bus is that good.
My understanding, just to inject a little bit here, on the idea of this regional high school is, I believe, a K to 16 education.
No.
K to 16, which means utilizing the programs that the high school and college already have now going, is the students in the high school are able to take more courses at the university
Yeah.
and get their possibly associate's degree if they're willing to get it. So
That's one of the
things that they're looking at. Now, I'm going to go to Dr. Bouchard first, because this is a loaded question. No, I'm going to go to Dan.
Gonna hit me first.
Why are you, as a member of the town council, waiting? And this is a question I've been polling the townspeople quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Why is the council waiting until June or later to start the hiring process for a new town manager?
Number one reason is March 26th, we're having an election. There's a possibility that the town gets 2 new councilmen. We felt that the next council should have the opportunity to decide and determine who the next town manager is. We thought that that wouldn't be fair to them. Next question, why we decided to wait. Don is a unique town manager. He served us for 24 years. He holds 8 to 10 titles, okay? We don't even have a job description for his job in the town of Fort Kent, because he's been here so long. So those are things that we need to work on. What do we want in our next town manager? What positions would he hold? Are we going to ask the town manager to do everything that Don does? Are we gonna combine some of the jobs which we have done now to other employees, which we've done some temporarily? Are we gonna make those appointments permanent? And what do we want? Do we want to generalize in going outside the state of Maine, staying local? Those are all questions that need to be answered. And things don't happen in an hour. When Don told us that he was resigning, we were starting our budget process. And in a few weeks, I was leaving for 6 weeks to my training for my new job in Transportation Security Agency. So we moved up a couple of meetings just so I could be involved in the budget process. But the council had their hands full in just finishing the budget process. During that time, before I left, we had a plan to ask the department heads to do it, and that didn't work out. So we came up with another plan. Don, as working with the council and Don has gone through everything that needs to be done till midsummer or later. Everything is done. We have good department heads. They're capable of running the department. The council is going to do what they can. The council would have done more, but because of legal issues, council can be appointed for a certain position. You know, it has to be separate. So Don's job, wherever the other employees don't fill, whoever's going to be the chairman of the council after the election is going to fill in during the daytime and do the jobs that need, what else needs to be done. But basically, also, another reason was funds. You know, we have to pay Don because of his vacation and sick time till the end of the year. So we only have so much money to play with. So our plan is, as soon as possible, as soon as we do get done what we want to get done, is advertise. If that's the middle of May, then it's going to be the middle of May.
Thank you. John, do you favor waiting till June, as the current council has indicated they want to do, or are doing, actually?
I don't, because this is going to be a long process. And I understand the points that Dan made, because of the fact that the current town manager's been here for 20-plus years. It's not like anybody has experience with looking for a town manager. While I was on the council, we hired 2 department heads. The Economic and Planning Office took us over a year to fill that position. Chief of Police didn't take us a year, but it took a fair amount of time. I don't have a recollection, 4 or 5 months, something like this. We started out and we had a pile of applications this high as soon as we advertised. It took time to go through all of that. It doesn't happen overnight. The town manager position is critical because he is the one that oversees everything. It's going to take the right person with the right combination of skills, temperament, hopefully experience, to replace the current town manager. And it's not a decision that you want to rush into. You want to take the time and the due diligence so that you have the right fit, and so that you hopefully get someone that will be an asset in your community and not be someone that's just sort of here and in 2 years gone, and then you start all over and you basically are just treading water all this time. So it is going to be a long process, and I think the sooner you start, the sooner you get to the end of that process.
Thank you, John. Next question is going to be yours here. Would you keep cutting the budget for the sake of looking good? And by that I mean, not necessarily cutting the budget, but holding it down so that you can boast after 3 years or 6 years or whatever time you're on, say, well, look, I kept the budget down. At the expense, and I'm not saying you're going to say this, but when you keep the budget down, we got to face it. Our equipment for the highway department, I was told some of the trucks are 20, 25 years old. Some are new. You know, one of them, they get a plow truck that's fairly new. They get a grader that's getting old. But the sake of keeping taxes at the current status for a member of the council to look good, and by meaning look good, that they can brag that they did not increase the taxes. Are you in, what's your feeling on that?
My feeling on that is no, I would not strive to keep the taxes down just for the point of saying that you kept the taxes down, and at the same time, sometimes the saying is you can be penny wise and pound foolish. I mean, sometimes you have to spend some money for equipment that you need so that people can do their jobs effectively, and it impacts the budget. And I, you know, we in this town have been, I think, fairly frugal with our expenditures through the years, through our different department heads and our different departments. And unfortunately, in some ways, when you have a budget that isn't inflated, it doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room when you have to cut, because it's a bare bones budget. And so at times you have to bump up that budget just because you have services that you have to provide. And I think that the important thing is to maintain the services so that the community remains stable, not just keep a tax level at a certain rate at the expense of those services.
Thank you, John. Dan, what's your feeling on that? You want me to repeat the question or no?
When we look at the budget, we need to, and the council does that every year. We plan, at least since I've been on the council, we plan ahead. All departments come and tell us what's going to be in their forecast, where their equipment is, and we have to make a common sense decision on how we are going to spend our money. Are we going to spend so much money this year and in 5 years more, or where would be the more common sense approach that would benefit all the citizens of Fort Kent? But then it comes to a point that we do have to spend money, just like our roads. The roads were neglected for an amount of years, and what happened is, because we didn't stay on top of it, it cost us a lot more to redo and fix those roads. When John was with us, we borrowed over $1 million, I think $1.1 million to repair the roads, but that barely touched, you know, just 1% of the roads. This year we're borrowing $1.2 million, and that's gonna not do all the roads, but it's gonna catch us up that we'll be close to servicing all the roads. There's still some more that's gonna be done, but I feel that yes, we need to look at the budget, but when it comes down time to keep our roads up or equipment, then we need to pay for it in one way or another. Sometimes we can't keep the budget down, sometimes we need to increase it. And unfortunately this year, because of different reasons, we had to increase the budget and the tax rate is going up.
Now, it was mentioned earlier, the mill rate is going to go up about 2 mil. For the average homeowner, what will that possibly be? I mean, if you've got a $100,000 home, is that $2 increase, or is that $20 increase?
Oh, it could be over $100 increase.
$200.
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Per mill.
Okay.
That's a lot.
So, 20 mil, $200 on a $100,000 home.
Yeah. $200 is a little bit more.
Okay.
On a $100,000 home.
Okay, what I'd like to do now is,
It's been 50 minutes.
oh, I could ask a few more questions here, but I think it's time for us to wrap this up. Since Dr. Bouchard went first and saying why he wanted to, I'll let Mr. Marquis say his final words for tonight, and with that, you will have 3 minutes. Go, sir.
I guess I'd like to close by saying that I've enjoyed my time serving the community, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I've always been a common sense type of guy, and I'm here because I want to serve the committee, and I hope that the community gives me a chance to serve again for another 3 years. That's all I have.
I would like to say to the voters of the community that I would appreciate their support on March 26th at the vote for the council. I think my terms on the council previously, I tried to represent as much of the community fairly and give my guidance the best I could as we dealt with different problems. If elected again to the council, I hope to be able to continue in that capacity. I have enjoyed my participation with the council in the past. Look forward to working with the new council moving forward.
Sorry about that. It's to remind you that the voting will be March 26th from 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the council chambers or at the town office. The town meeting will start at 7:30 at the high school gymnasium. I'd like to wish all 3 candidates, although one is not here tonight, John Bouchard, Dan Marquis, and Corey Pelletier, the best of luck. I hate to say it this way, but one of them will not make it, but hopefully they try again next year. Thanks, John. Good luck.
Thank you, Dan.
And Dan, there's too many Dans here. Thank you.
And I wish you.
Yes, you too, Chad.